Hi guys, sorry to interrupt your viewing, but please subscribe to the channel and like this video. Thank you.
When I found out my teenage daughter was lying about me online, painting me as a bad father for sympathy points, it felt like a betrayal I never saw coming. But when I confronted her and took away her car and phone, things escalated beyond anything I expected. The truth behind her lies and her reaction turned out to be far more shocking than I imagined. It all started on a quiet Sunday afternoon. I had finally carved out some time to relax after a hectic week, scrolling through social media with no particular aim. That's when I stumbled upon a post shared by one of my daughter's friends. The caption read, "Stay strong, girl. You deserve better." The wording struck me as odd, and curiosity got the better of me. I clicked on the post, not realizing it would change everything. The post was from my 16-year-old daughter, Lily. It was long and emotional, written in the kind of raw, dramatic tone designed to pull at people's heartstrings. She claimed she was living with a controlling, neglectful father who refused to let her have any freedom or happiness. She painted a picture of a home life filled with constant criticism and isolation. According to her, she was trapped in an unloving environment where she felt invisible and unwanted. The comments were flooded with sympathy. Her classmates and even strangers were writing things like, "You're so strong, Lily, and I'm here for you anytime." Reading it felt like being punched in the stomach. None of it was true. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I had always prided myself on being a supportive and fair parent. I wasn't perfect. No one is, but I'd worked hard to give Lily the best life I could. I'd surprised her with a car for her birthday, paid for her extracurricular activities, and even worked extra hours to send her to her dream summer camp last year. Yet here she was telling the world that I was some kind of monster. My first reaction was disbelief. I reread the post, hoping I'd misunderstood. Then came the anger. How could she do this to me? Why would she lie about our family like this, especially in such a public way? But beneath the anger was something else, hurt. It wasn't just the lies that stung. It was the realization that Lily had chosen to air her grievances, real or imagined, to the world instead of coming to me. It felt like a betrayal. The rest of the afternoon passed in a blur. I couldn't stop thinking about the post, replaying it in my head and trying to make sense of it. I kept asking myself the same questions. What did I do to make her feel this way? Why didn't she talk to me? By the time dinner rolled around, I knew I couldn't let it slide. I had to confront her, not just because of the lies, but because this post had real consequences. If someone took her words at face value, they might think I was actually abusive. What if a teacher or a friend's parents saw it and reported me? The stakes were too high to ignore. That night, as I set the dinner table, I felt a knot of tension building in my stomach. Lily came downstairs, headphones in, scrolling through her phone like nothing was wrong. She had no idea what was coming. "Lily," I said, keeping my voice calm, "can we talk for a minute after dinner?" She glanced up briefly, then shrugged. "Sure, whatever." Little did she know, this wasn't going to be just another casual conversation. This was the beginning of a confrontation that would change everything. That night, I tried to go through dinner as normally as possible, but the tension was impossible to ignore. My mind was racing, replaying Lily's post over and over again. Each bite of food felt like a chore, and every glance at her carefree demeanor only fueled my frustration. She sat there chatting about her day, completely unaware of the storm brewing. After we finished, I asked her to join me in the living room. "I need to talk to you about something," I said, keeping my tone neutral. Lily followed me, her phone in hand, scrolling mindlessly as she plopped onto the couch. She didn't even look up, her headphones dangling around her neck. "What's up?" she asked casually, as if this were just another routine parent-kid talk. I took a deep breath and sat across from her, gripping my phone tightly. "Lily," I started, my voice steady but firm, "I came across something online today. Care to explain this?" I held my phone up, showing her the post she'd written. Her reaction was instant. Her face turned red, her eyes widening for a fraction of a second before narrowing in defiance. "Why were you snooping on my social media?" she snapped, her tone accusatory. "That's private." "Private?" I repeated, trying to keep my voice calm, but failing to hide the edge creeping in. "You posted this for the entire world to see, Lily, and it's full of lies about me. Do you realize how damaging this could be?" "It's not that serious," she said, rolling her eyes. "It's just a post. People vent online all the time. Not that serious?" I shot back, my frustration boiling over. "You called me a neglectful, controlling father. Do you have any idea what people might think if they read this? What if someone reports me? What if your teachers see it and start treating me like an actual bad parent. She crossed her arms and glared at me. Why do you care so much about what people think? It's not like anyone's going to do anything about it. Everyone knows social media isn't real. Her dismissive tone only made me angrier. This isn't about what people think, I said. It's about trust. You wrote lies about me, lies that could ruin my reputation. And for what? Attention? Sympathy? Her silence told me I'd hit a nerve. She looked away, her fingers fidgeting with the hem of her hoodie. You don't get it, she mumbled. Then help me understand, I said, softening my tone. Why, Lily? Why would you say those things about me when you know they're not true? She hesitated, then shrugged. Because everyone else has something to talk about, okay? Everyone else posts about their problems, and people care. I wanted people to care about me too. Her words hit me like a brick. I didn't know whether to feel angry, hurt, or sad. This wasn't just about a social media post anymore. It was about something deeper. Lily wasn't lashing out because she hated me. She was crying out for attention in a way she thought would work. I leaned forward, trying to rein in my emotions. Lily, I said quietly, if you're feeling invisible or unheard, you can talk to me. You don't have to make up stories online to get people's attention. I'm your dad. I'm here for you. She rolled her eyes again, though this time her defiance seemed half-hearted. You're always working, she muttered. You don't even notice what's going on with me half the time. Her words stung, but I knew this wasn't the time to argue or defend myself. Maybe I haven't been as present as I should be, I admitted. But that doesn't excuse what you did, Lily. This post isn't just hurtful, it's wrong. And there are going to be consequences. Her eyes snapped back to me, wide with alarm. Consequences? Like what? You'll find out soon enough, I said, standing up. But first, I want you to take the post down. Now! She huffed and grabbed her phone, muttering under her breath as she deleted it. Happy now? She asked bitterly. Not even close, I replied, my tone firm. We're not done talking about this. As I walked away, I felt the weight of the conversation settle over me. This was bigger than just one post, and I knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. But one thing was clear. Lily needed to understand the seriousness of her actions, and I needed to figure out how to bridge the growing gap between us. Lily sat on the couch, her arms crossed tightly over her chest, her expression defiant. It's not like anyone cares, she said, her tone sharp. It was just a post. Everyone exaggerates online. What's the big deal? Her words only added fuel to my frustration. The big deal, I said, doing my best to keep my voice steady, is that you made me out to be a terrible father when all I've ever done is try to give you a good life. Do you have any idea how that made me feel? Why would you say those things about me? Lily's glare faltered, and for a moment, I thought she might back down. But then she shrugged, her voice tinged with bitterness. Because it's not like you're perfect, okay? And everyone else gets attention and sympathy online. I wanted people to care about me, for once. Her words hung in the air, cutting through my anger like a knife. For a second, I forgot my frustration and just stared at her, stunned. Do you think people don't care about you? I asked, my voice softer now. She looked away, avoiding my gaze. You're always working, she mumbled. When was the last time you actually asked me how I'm doing or what I want? It's like I'm just here, and you don't even notice. Her confession hit me harder than I expected. I thought about the long hours I worked to pay for Lily's school, her car, her extracurriculars, the countless sacrifices I'd made to ensure she had everything she needed. But in focusing so much on providing for her, had I neglected the emotional connection she craved? That doesn't excuse what you did, I said after a pause, my voice firm but not unkind. If you feel ignored, if you're struggling, you need to talk to me about it. Making up lies online isn't the way to handle it. It's not like I thought it through, Lily said, her voice wavering now. I didn't mean for it to get this big. Everyone else posts stuff like that, and people actually care about them. They comment, they reach out. I wanted that for once. I sighed, rubbing my temples. Lily, you don't have to create fake problems to get attention. You're my daughter. I care about you more than anything. But respect goes both ways, and what you did wasn't just disrespectful. It was hurtful. Do you understand that? She didn't answer right away. Her expression softened, but she still looked conflicted, as if she couldn't decide whether to admit she was wrong or double down on her defensiveness. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said quietly, almost like an afterthought. I just wanted people to notice me, and now they have, I replied. But at what cost? Trust isn't something you can just throw away, Lily. Once it's gone, it's hard to get back. We sat in silence for a moment, the weight of the conversation settling over both of us. I could see the regret beginning to creep into her expression. but I knew that wasn't enough. This wasn't something that could be fixed with a simple apology. Here's what's going to happen, I said finally, sitting up straighter. First, you're grounded. That means no going out, no phone, and no car until we figured out how to rebuild some trust. Her eyes widened in shock. What? That's not fair. The car was a gift, and the phone is a privilege, I said firmly. Both are privileges you earn by showing responsibility. What you did wasn't responsible, Lily. It was reckless. Actions have consequences, and this is yours. She looked like she wanted to argue, but something in my tone must have stopped her. Instead, she slumped back against the couch, crossing her arms again. Fine, she muttered. I'm not doing this to punish you, I said, softening my tone. I'm doing this because I want you to understand the impact of your actions. Words have power, Lily. The things you say, especially online, can have real consequences, not just for you, but for the people around you. She didn't respond, but I could tell she was listening. I hoped that some part of what I was saying was sinking in, even if she didn't want to admit it yet. As I stood to leave the room, I paused and turned back to her. If you want attention, Lily, talk to me. Talk to your friends. Don't turn to social media for validation. It's not real. What's real is the people who love you, who are here for you. Don't push them away. She didn't say anything as I left the room, but I could feel the tension in the air shifting. This wasn't the end of the conversation. It was only the beginning. There was still so much to unpack, so much to rebuild. But for now, I was determined to hold my ground. This wasn't just about her post anymore. It was about teaching her a lesson she wouldn't forget, a lesson about trust, accountability, and the importance of real connections. And though it hurt, I knew it was the right thing to do. The day after our initial confrontation, I decided it was time to lay down clear consequences for Lily's actions. I didn't come to the decision lightly. As angry as I wanted to make sure that what I did wasn't just about reacting to her post, but about teaching her a lesson she would carry with her. That evening, I asked her to join me in the living room again. She shuffled in reluctantly, her phone still glued to her hand despite the tension that hung in the air. I motioned for her to sit down, and I took a seat across from her, determined to remain calm. Lily, I began, I've thought a lot about what happened yesterday, and I want you to understand that this isn't just about the post. It's about trust, respect, and accountability. She rolled her eyes, but didn't say anything. As your father, I continued, it's my responsibility to guide you, even when that means making decisions you might not like. And right now, you need to learn that actions have consequences. That's why I've decided to take away your car and your phone for now. Her head snapped up, and her expression morphed from indifference to fury. What? You can't do that, she shouted, her voice shaking with anger. The car was a gift. You can't just take it back. And the phone? I asked, raising an eyebrow. Was that a gift too? I need my phone, she said, her voice growing more desperate. How am I supposed to stay in touch with my friends or do my homework? You'll have access to a computer for your schoolwork, I said evenly. And as for your friends, I think it's important for you to take a step back and think about the kind of attention you're seeking from them. Her face turned red, and for a moment, I thought she might cry. Instead, she clenched her fists and glared at me. You're just trying to control me, she spat. This is so unfair. This isn't about control, Lily, I said firmly but gently. This is about accountability. What you did wasn't just a mistake. It was a deliberate choice to spread lies about me for sympathy. Do you have any idea how hurtful that was? She didn't respond, her gaze fixed stubbornly on the floor. You'll get your car and phone back, I continued, when you've shown me that you understand why what you did was wrong. Until then, they're privileges you've lost. Lily stood up abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. You don't understand anything, she snapped. You're just punishing me because you're mad. No, I said, standing up to face her. I'm doing this because I care about you. I care enough to teach you that your actions have consequences, even if it means you hate me for it right now. She stormed off to her room, slamming the door behind her. I stood in the living room, the weight of the conversation settling over me. Taking away her car and phone hadn't been an easy decision, but I knew it was the right one. Still, her words lingered in my mind. You don't understand anything. Over the next few days, the fallout from my decision became clear. Lily refused to come out of her room unless absolutely necessary. She gave me the silent treatment at every opportunity, answering questions with curt nods or shrugs. At one point, she left a note on the fridge that read, "You're ruining my life." I tried to stay patient, reminding myself that this was part of the process. She was angry now, but she would come to understand why I'd done this, or at least I hoped she would. In the meantime, I stuck to my decision. I locked her car keys in my desk drawer and set up parental controls on the family computer to ensure she couldn't use it to post anything online. It felt harsh, but I knew that letting her actions slide would send the wrong message. One evening, I knocked on her door, hoping to break the ice. "Lily," I said gently, "I know you're upset, but I'm here when you're ready to talk. This doesn't have to be a fight." There was no response, just the muffled sound of music through the door. I sighed and walked away, wondering if I'd made a mistake. But deep down, I knew this wasn't about being her friend. It was about being her parent. And being a parent meant doing the hard thing, even when it hurt. As the days stretched into weeks, I began to notice small cracks in Lily's defiance. She started coming to dinner again, though she kept her head down and avoided eye contact. Once, I caught her watching me out of the corner of her eye as I worked in the kitchen. It wasn't much, but it was a start. This was going to be a long road, but I was determined to stay the course. I wasn't just trying to teach Lily about accountability. I was trying to rebuild the trust that had been broken. And no matter how difficult it got, I wasn't going to give up on her. Because that's what being a father is all about. Taking away Lily's car and phone was supposed to be a lesson in accountability, but it quickly became clear that the consequences had sparked more than just reflection. Almost overnight, Lily shut down. She stopped speaking to me unless absolutely necessary, locking herself in her room for hours at a time. Dinner became a one-person affair. No matter how many times I knocked on her door or tried to coax her out, she refused to join me. It didn't take long for her behavior to start affecting other areas of her life. I received a call from one of her teachers just a week after our confrontation. "Lily hasn't turned in her last 2 assignments," the teacher said, "and she seems distracted in class. Is everything okay at home?" I wanted to say yes, to pretend like things were fine, but the truth was staring me in the face. "We're going through a rough patch," I admitted. "I'll make sure she gets back on track." But making sure wasn't as simple as I thought. Whenever I tried to talk to Lily about her grades, her tone would turn icy. "Why do you even care?" she snapped one evening when I brought it up. "It's not like you actually pay attention to what I do." Her words stung, but I tried not to let it show. "I care because I want you to succeed," I said calmly. "Your education is important, Lily. This isn't about punishing you. It's about helping you make better choices." "Helping?" she shot back, her voice rising. "You think taking everything away from me is helping? You don't get it. You don't understand what it's like to feel invisible." That stopped me in my tracks. Her words hung in the air, cutting through the frustration and anger that had built up over the past few weeks. I opened my mouth to respond, but found that I didn't know what to say. After a long pause, I finally managed. "Lily, I don't want you to feel invisible. If that's how I've made you feel, I'm sorry. But this, what you did, it wasn't the way to handle those feelings." She rolled her eyes and stormed off to her room, slamming the door behind her. I sat there in the silence, her words echoing in my mind. "You don't understand what it's like to feel invisible." That night, I lay awake replaying the conversation over and over again. Had I missed something? I thought I was giving Lily a good life, providing for her, supporting her interests, and making sure she had everything she needed. But maybe I'd focused so much on the practical side of parenting that I'd overlooked the emotional side. The next day, I decided to take a different approach. Instead of bombarding Lily with more questions or lectures, I left a note on her desk. "I'm here when you're ready to talk." No judgment, no arguments, just me and you. For a while, nothing changed. She continued to avoid me, and the silence in the house felt heavier than ever. But one evening, as I was cleaning up after dinner, I heard her door creak open. She shuffled into the kitchen, her expression guarded. "Is that offer to talk still on the table?" she asked quietly. I nodded, setting down the dish I was holding. "Always." We sat at the table, the tension between us palpable. Lily fidgeted with the edge of her hoodie, her eyes fixed on the floor. "I don't know how to say this without sounding stupid," she began, her voice barely above a whisper. "Nothing you say is stupid," I assured her. "Just tell me what's on your mind." She took a deep breath and finally met my eyes. "It's just sometimes it feels like everything I do is either wrong or not good enough. And when I see other people getting all this attention online, I feel like I don't matter as much as they do." Her confession hit me like a ton of bricks. For weeks, I'd been focused on the logistics of her post, the lies, the consequences, the potential fallout, but I hadn't stopped to think about the feelings that had driven her to write it in the first place. "I'm sorry you feel that way," I said, my voice heavy with guilt. "But Lily, you do matter. To me, to your friends, to so many people. I know I've been busy lately, and maybe I haven't shown you enough, but that doesn't mean you're invisible." She blinked rapidly, as if holding back tears. "I just wanted people to notice me," she admitted. "That's why I wrote the post." It was stupid, I know, but it worked. People cared. I reached across the table and placed a hand on hers. You don't need to make up stories for people to care about you, Lily. And you definitely don't need to tear me down to make yourself feel better. If you're feeling invisible, tell me. Let me help you. But we can't fix this if you don't talk to me. For the first time in weeks, I saw a crack in her defenses. She nodded slowly, her eyes glistening with unshed tears. I'll try, she said. I don't know how, but I'll try. It wasn't a perfect resolution, but it was a start. Lily's words had given me a glimpse into the pain she'd been carrying, and I realized that rebuilding our relationship was going to take time. But for the first time, I felt like we were on the same side. As she headed back to her room that night, I made a silent promise to myself. I would do everything in my power to make sure Lily never felt invisible again. It wouldn't be easy, but I was determined to be the father she needed, not just the one I thought I was supposed to be. And for the first time in weeks, I felt a glimmer of hope. That weekend, I decided to take a step back from my usual approach. The constant back and forth with Lily had led us nowhere but more arguments, more frustration, and more distance. I realized that if I truly wanted to understand her actions, I needed to listen, not as the parent enforcing rules, but as her dad who cared about her feelings. Lily, I said, knocking gently on her door, can we talk? No lectures, no punishments, just a conversation. She opened the door slightly, her expression guarded. What's there to talk about? You've already made up your mind about me. That's not true, I said softly. I want to hear your side of things. Help me understand. Why did you feel like you needed to post that? What's going on that I'm not seeing? At first, she resisted, retreating behind a wall of sarcasm and indifference. What's the point? She muttered, slumping onto her bed. You wouldn't get it anyway. Try me, I said, pulling up a chair and sitting across from her. I might not get everything right away, but I'm here, and I want to understand. Please, Lily, talk to me. She rolled her eyes and crossed her arms, but there was a flicker of hesitation in her expression. After a long silence, she finally spoke. It's not like I planned to do it. It just happened. Everyone else was talking about their problems online, and it felt like if I didn't, I'd just disappear. Her voice was quieter now, the sarcasm stripped away. At school, it's like I'm invisible. I'm not the smartest, or the funniest, or the prettiest. I'm just there. And then at home, you're always working, and I know it's for me, but it feels like I'm not important. Like I'm just here. Her words hit me harder than I ever expected. I thought back to the long hours I'd spent at the office, the late nights when I'd missed dinner, and the weekends when I'd been too tired to do anything but collapse on the couch. I'd always justified it by telling myself I was providing for her, giving her the stability and opportunities one never had. But somewhere along the way, I'd forgotten that being present wasn't just about paying the bills. I'm so sorry, Lily, I said, my voice heavy with regret. I never wanted you to feel that way. I thought I was doing the right thing by working hard and making sure you had everything you needed, but I see now that I wasn't there for you in the ways that mattered most. She looked away, her eyes glistening. It's not like I hate you or anything, she said quietly. I just wanted to feel like someone noticed me. That's all. Her confession broke my heart. While I didn't condone what she'd done, I couldn't help but feel responsible for the pain that had driven her to it. I'd been so focused on being a provider that I'd failed to see the loneliness she'd been carrying. I notice you, Lily, I said, leaning forward. I see how creative you are, how kind you are to your friends, and how hard you work at school, even if your grades aren't perfect. You're my daughter, and I love you more than anything. I'm sorry if I ever made you feel like you weren't important to me. She wiped at her eyes, trying to hide the tears that were starting to fall. I just wanted someone to care, she whispered. I do care, I said firmly, and I'll do better to show it. But Lily, you need to promise me something too. If you're ever feeling like this again, like you're invisible or unimportant, come to me. Talk to me. Don't bottle it up, and don't turn to the internet to try to fix it. Can you promise me that? She nodded hesitantly, her guard starting to lower. I'll try, she said. I don't know if I can promise, but I'll try. That's all I ask, I said, giving her a small smile. We'll work on this together, okay? I'm not perfect, but I'm here. And I want to do better. For you, for us. For the first time in weeks, I saw a glimpse of the Lily I knew. The girl who used to light up the room with her smile, the daughter who loved sharing her dreams and ideas with me. It wasn't a complete breakthrough, but it was a start. As I left her room that night, I felt a mix of emotions. Guilt for the ways I'd let her down, relief that she was finally opening up, and hope that we could rebuild what had been broken. This wasn't just about teaching Lily a lesson anymore. It was about learning one myself. I resolved to be more present, to listen more, and to make sure Lily never felt invisible again. Because no matter what mistake she'd made, she was my daughter, and she deserved to feel seen, heard, and loved. After our heart-to-heart, something shifted between Lily and me. It wasn't a magical fix. There were still moments of tension, and the hurt we'd both felt didn't just disappear overnight. But for the first time in weeks, it felt like we were finally on the same page. The morning after our conversation, Lily came downstairs for breakfast without me having to call her. She sat quietly at the table, her usual defiance replaced with what I could only describe as hesitation. I poured her a cup of coffee and sat across from her, unsure of how to start. "I've been thinking about what you said last night," I began, my voice steady. "About how I've been so focused on providing for you that I haven't been present. And you're right. I should have paid more attention to how you were feeling, and I'm sorry for that." She looked up from her mug, her eyes wide with surprise. "You don't have to apologize," she said quietly. "I'm the one who messed up. You did make a mistake," I agreed, keeping my tone gentle. "But I want you to know that I understand why you felt the way you did. That doesn't excuse what you did, but it helps me see what I need to do better." Her lips trembled, and tears welled up in her eyes. "I was wrong," she said, her voice cracking. "I shouldn't have lied about you. I didn't know how else to get people to notice me." Seeing her vulnerability was both heartbreaking and relieving. "Lily, you don't need to lie or do anything drastic to get people to care about you," I said. "I care about you more than anything in the world. And if you ever feel like I'm not showing it, I want you to tell me." That morning, we made a pact. I promised to set aside more time to spend with her, no matter how busy work got. Whether it was cooking dinner together, watching her favorite shows, or just talking about her day, I would make the effort to be more present. In return, Lily promised to think more carefully about her actions, especially when it came to social media. "I know I hurt you," she said, wiping at her eyes. "And I don't want to do that again." Rebuilding trust was a slow process. I didn't hand back her phone or car right away. Instead, we focused on taking small steps toward repairing our relationship. At first, we started with family dinners, something we hadn't done consistently in years. It felt awkward at first, but as the days went by, we started having real conversations again. After a month, I decided it was time to return her phone. "This doesn't mean everything goes back to normal," I told her as I handed it over. "I'm trusting you to be responsible and mindful about what you post. No more exaggerations or lies." "Okay." She nodded earnestly. "I promise," she said. "I've learned my lesson." The car, however, remained off limits. "The car is a bigger responsibility," I explained. "I need to see that you can handle smaller responsibilities before we talk about giving it back." She didn't argue, which I took as a sign of her growing maturity. In the weeks that followed, I started to see positive changes in Lily. She became more open with me, sharing things about her day that she never used to mention. She even started helping around the house without being asked, something I never thought I'd see. One evening, as we were cleaning up after dinner, she turned to me and said, "You know, this is kind of nice." "What is?" I asked, glancing at her curiously. "Talking to you. Spending time together," she said with a small smile. I didn't realize how much I missed it. Her words warmed my heart. It wasn't just that we were rebuilding our relationship. It was that she was starting to value the time we spent together as much as I did. While there were still challenges, the distance between us was slowly but surely closing. I learned to be more present in Lily's life, not just as a provider, but as a father who listened and cared. And Lily learned that she didn't need to fabricate drama or seek validation online to feel seen and loved. One day, as I watched her laughing with a group of friends in the driveway, I realized how much she'd grown since that first confrontation. She wasn't perfect. None of us are. But she was trying, and that was all I could ask for. Rebuilding trust had been a long and difficult journey, but in the end, it brought us closer than ever. And for the first time in years, I felt like I was truly getting to know my daughter again. After our pact to rebuild trust, I decided to take things a step further. It was clear that Lily's struggles ran deeper than just the social media post or the consequences that followed. She was battling feelings of invisibility and insecurity, and I realized she needed more support than I could offer alone. That's when I brought up the idea of therapy. At first, she resisted. "Therapy? You think I'm broken or something?" she asked, crossing her arms defensively. "No, Lily," I said gently. "I think you've been carrying a lot on your own, and talking to someone who can help you sort through those feelings might make things easier. You're not broken. You're just human." After some hesitation, she agreed to try it. We found a therapist who specialized in working with teenagers, and to my surprise, Lily opened up more quickly than I'd expected. The therapist also suggested that I join a few sessions to work on our communication. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I was willing to do whatever it took to help Lily feel heard. The sessions were eye-opening. During one meeting, Lily admitted that she often felt like she was competing with my job for attention. "It's like I'm second place to your work," she said, her voice trembling. It wasn't easy to hear, but it was necessary. I apologized not just in words, but by making changes in my daily life. I started leaving work earlier whenever possible and turning off my phone during dinner. Slowly, Lily began to see that she was a priority, not an afterthought. In therapy, I also learned to listen without jumping to solutions. Sometimes Lily didn't need me to fix her problems. She just needed me to understand them. It was a simple shift, but it made a world of difference in how we communicated. Outside of therapy, I encouraged Lily to channel her energy into positive outlets. She'd always had a knack for drawing, so I suggested she start an art project. At first, she was hesitant, saying she wasn't good enough, but I reminded her that it wasn't about being perfect. It was about expressing herself. One day after school, she came home and surprised me. "I signed up for the drama club," she announced, a hint of nervous excitement in her voice. "Drama club?" I asked, raising an eyebrow. "Yeah," she said with a shrug. "A couple of my friends are in it, and they said I should try out for the spring play." I figured, why not? I couldn't help but smile. "That's amazing, Lily. I'm proud of you." The drama club turned out to be a perfect fit for her. It gave her a chance to connect with others, showcase her creativity, and step outside of her comfort zone. Watching her grow more confident with each rehearsal was a joy I hadn't experienced in a long time. At home, she started sketching again, filling her room with vibrant drawings that reflected her personality. One night, she showed me a piece she'd been working on, a colorful, abstract design with bold strokes and intricate details. "This is incredible," I said, genuinely amazed. "It's kind of how I feel," she explained. "Messy, but also, I don't know, alive." As the weeks turned into months, I began to see a different side of Lily. She was more open, more expressive, and, most importantly, happier. Her laughter filled the house again, and the tension that had once hung over us like a storm cloud started to lift. Our therapy sessions continued, but they became less about addressing conflicts and more about strengthening our bond. We talked about everything, from her favorite music to her plans for the future, and I realized just how much I'd missed during the years I'd been so focused on work. One evening, as we sat on the couch watching a movie, Lily leaned over and said, "Thanks for sticking with me, Dad, even when I was kind of a mess." I smiled and ruffled her hair. "You're not a mess, Lily. You're just figuring things out like we all are, and I'll always stick with you, no matter what." For the first time in a long time, our home felt peaceful. The arguments and misunderstandings that had once defined our relationship were replaced by moments of connection and understanding. Lily still had her struggles. Everyone does, but she faced them with a newfound resilience. And I, in turn, made sure she never felt invisible again. Looking back, the journey we'd been on wasn't easy, but it was worth every difficult conversation and every tear shed. Because now, I wasn't just Lily's provider. I was her father in every sense of the word. And our relationship was stronger for it. It was a quiet Saturday morning when Lily came into the kitchen, holding a sheet of paper in her hand. Her steps were hesitant, and her expression was a mixture of nervousness and determination. I was at the counter, pouring my second cup of coffee, when she cleared her throat to get my attention. "Dad," she said softly, her voice carrying an unfamiliar seriousness. "Can I talk to you for a second?" I set the mug down and turned to face her. "Of course," I said. "What's on your mind?" She held out the paper, her fingers trembling slightly. "I wrote something, and I want you to read it." Taking the page from her, I glanced down at the neatly typed words. The first line caught my attention immediately. "To everyone who read my post about my dad, I need to tell you the truth." I felt a lump form in my throat as I continued reading. In the post, Lily admitted that the things she had said about me were untrue. She explained how her feelings of invisibility and insecurity had led her to write the original post, and how, in her search for validation, she had hurt the person who cared about her most. "I was wrong to lie about my dad," the post read. "He's always been there for me, even when I didn't realize it. What I said wasn't true, and I'm sorry for the hurt I caused him. I've learned that honesty and communication are so much more important than trying to get sympathy online. My dad and I are working on rebuilding our relationship, and I'm so grateful for his patience and love." By the time I finished, tears were welling up in my eyes. I looked up at Lily, who was fidgeting with the hem of her sweatshirt, her gaze fixed on the floor. "I wanted to make things right," she said quietly. "It's been bothering me for a while. I know I can't take back what I did, but I thought this might help." I took a deep breath trying to steady my voice. Lily, I said, this means more to me than you know. The fact that you wrote this, that you're taking responsibility for your actions, it shows how much you've grown. I'm so proud of you. She finally looked up, her eyes glistening. You're not mad? Mad? I said, shaking my head. No, I've never been mad at you, Lily. Disappointed? Sure. Hurt? Absolutely. But right now, all I feel is pride. It takes a lot of courage to admit when you've made a mistake and to try to fix it. A small, relieved smile crossed her face. I was thinking of posting it online, she said, her voice tentative. You know, where everyone saw the first post, but only if you're okay with it. I hesitated for a moment, considering her offer. While the apology wouldn't undo the original post, it would show her friends and herself that she was willing to take accountability. If that's what you want to do, I support it, I said. But remember, this isn't about what other people think. It's about doing what feels right to you. She nodded. I know. I want people to know the truth. Later that day, Lily posted the apology online. She read it aloud to me one last time before hitting share, her hand shaking slightly as she did. It's up, she said, exhaling deeply. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Her friends left comments praising her for her honesty and bravery. It takes a lot to admit when you're wrong, one of them wrote. Proud of you, Lily. That evening, as we sat on the couch watching TV, Lily leaned against my shoulder, a gesture that had become rare over the past few years. Thanks for not giving up on me, she said quietly. I wrapped an arm around her and smiled. You're my daughter, I said. There's nothing you could do that would make me give up on you. In that moment, I realized how far we'd come. The lies, the arguments, the hurt, it was all still part of our story, but it didn't define us anymore. Lily wasn't the same girl who'd written that post, and I wasn't the same father who'd been too focused on work to notice her struggles. We had faced the truth, together, and come out stronger for it. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like we were truly moving forward. It's hard to believe that a year has passed since the day I stumbled upon Lily's post, the one that turned our lives upside down. At the time, it felt like a betrayal I might never recover from. But now, as I sit here reflecting on everything that's happened since, I can see that it was also the wake-up call we both needed. Lily and I still have our challenges. She's a teenager, after all. And with that comes the usual struggles, curfews, occasional attitude, and navigating the pressures of school and friendships. But the difference now is that we face those challenges together. Where there was once distance and silence, there's now communication and understanding. She's more confident than she was a year ago, and it shows in everything she does. She pours her heart into the drama club, taking on roles that push her outside her comfort zone. Her artwork has blossomed into something truly incredible, and she's even started sharing her pieces online, not for validation, but to connect with others who share her passion. One of the biggest changes I've noticed is the way Lily carries herself. She's no longer the girl who felt invisible and overlooked. She's found her voice, and she's learning how to use it in ways that make her proud. Whether it's speaking up for herself at school or helping a friend through a tough time, she's becoming the kind of person who lifts others up instead of tearing herself or anyone else down. And as for me, I've grown too. That first post forced me to take a hard look at the kind of father I was and the kind of father I wanted to be. It wasn't an easy realization, but it was necessary. I've learned to prioritize my time better, to put down my phone and be fully present when Lily needs me. I've also learned the value of patience, of listening, even when the words are hard to hear, and of allowing space for growth, both hers and mine. Rebuilding trust takes time, and it's not always linear, but every step forward has been worth it. Looking back, I realized that moment of betrayal wasn't just a low point in our relationship. It was also an opportunity for growth. It forced us to face the cracks we'd ignored for too long and to rebuild something stronger. That doesn't mean everything is perfect. We still argue sometimes, and there are moments when I catch myself slipping back into old habits, working too much, forgetting to ask about her day, or jumping to conclusions instead of listening. But now, I recognize those moments and make a conscious effort to do better. And Lily has grown too. She's not just more thoughtful about her actions, she's also become more forgiving. She doesn't expect me to be a perfect parent, just like I don't expect her to be a perfect daughter. Instead, we've learned to give each other grace, to acknowledge our mistakes, and move forward together. The other day, Lily showed me her latest art project, a mural she's working on for her school. It's a bold, colorful piece filled with swirling patterns and vibrant imagery. When I asked her what it represented, she smiled and said, "Growth. That's what this year has been about for me," she explained. learning from my mistakes, figuring out who I am, and not being afraid to try new things. I couldn't have said it better myself. As I watch her thrive, I feel an overwhelming sense of pride, not just in the person Lily is becoming, but in the journey we've taken together to get here. It wasn't easy, and there were times when I wasn't sure we'd make it through. But now, I wouldn't trade the lessons we've learned or the bond we've built for anything. If there's one thing this experience has taught me, it's that relationships are never static. They require effort, patience, and a willingness to face the hard truths. But when both people are willing to put in the work, the rewards are immeasurable. I'm grateful every day for the second chance we gave each other. Lily may have made mistakes, but so did I. And through those mistakes, we've built a foundation of trust, respect, and love that's stronger than ever. Now, as I sit here writing this, I can't help but smile. A year ago, I felt like my world was falling apart. Today, I feel hopeful, not just for Lily's future, but for ours. Because no matter what challenges come our way, I know we'll face them together.